This is Beyond the Green Screen, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Hey everyone, it's Bock here with Arizona's Family, our first alert weather team, Beyond the Green Screen podcast. Really excited to introduce you guys to Jess and Mika. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. So you guys are all things hiking experts. And so this podcast is going to be all about hiking. I mean, we have so many beautiful trails, mountains here statewide. And so I'm excited to get to talk to you guys because maybe we have some newcomers here to the Valley that just don't know where to start. And then maybe we have some people who have done the same old hikes over and over again, and they're excited to get to try some new ones. So guys, I want to talk to you first a little bit about camelback culture. Jess, maybe this would be a good one for you to talk about. I mean, what is this group that you're in?
Well, it really started organically, and I'd like to say that there are communities on all of the mountains. If you regularly go to any trail, you're going to find a community there. So when I lived for many, many years with a view of Camelback, and finally when my children were old enough, I could hike it. And when I did, I realized just how many people kind of knew each other, but they didn't realize that they all knew each other. So there's like, this person knows that person knows this person. So I thought it would be good to connect them. And then I had also created the shirt that everybody wanted, the Super Camelback. So that sort of led to me meeting more and more people. And then I put together the social media page. And the only goal there was not to lead anything. It was really just more to hold up a mirror to the community, because I felt that if people kind of knew each other and knew each other's names, it might help us be nicer to each other.
There you go.
And possibly better stewards, so that we could share more information on how, because it's surprising, even people that have hiked for 30 years don't necessarily know that some of their habits could potentially be damaging to the trail. And now that we live in such a populous city with these trails, we really need to take the time to treat our trails right, or they're not going to be around for us for very long. So
right. Well, it's very cool. It's if you're not familiar with it, on Instagram, Camelback Culture. So you could follow it. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of its own little community of hikers. So that is cool. You get to know the people that you're hiking with. So what have you guys learned so far? Mika, you're not from here, but you lived here for about 20 years. And so you have all things to talk about trails. I want to first kind of break it down. So let's maybe go from maybe some of the easier trails. Where can people start if they're not super familiar with the area? Maybe some easier trails to start with.
I would say definitely checking into South Mountain. We have an amazing resource too that I don't know people are aware of, All Trails. You can actually pull up trails around and rate them. And so there is an easy rating. So you could pull up that. Camelback is not where to start because it's a double black diamond. But South Mountain, there's Kiwanis Trail, there's a Ranger Trail. They have a trail around their visitor center, which is a nature walk. So those are like the basic easy. Some of them are paved. And then there's also just regular travel trails where you're not going to go with a lot of incline. ASU Mountain is one of my favorites to get some cardio.
I love that one too, and it's quick.
Yes, you get the full everything. You get some pavement, there's stairs, there's rocks, you get a view.
A good view.
You know, everything, and you can get it done in 20 minutes and don't have to worry.
Yeah.
And your butt will still hurt.
Yeah. The next day you'll feel it.
That was my starter mountain. I did that one, and then Kiwanis Trail often, and that's on South Mountain. And my mom was always worried for me because she's like, you're going hiking by yourself. And I'm like, on South Mountain, you're not hiking by yourself. There's always going to be somebody else around, so you can kind of see where you're going, what to expect, and you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. If they're ahead of you, you could turn around, or if you trip or something's going to happen, there was always going to be somebody, I felt. So that's why I feel like South Mountain is a great starter place, because it's just a big community park with lots of options, from easy to super hard.
Yeah, kind of best of both worlds. And it's interesting you mentioned the All Trails, because my friends and I were looking for a good hike the other day, and we used that. We ended up at Pinnacle Peak. That was my first time doing it, and I loved that hike. The views, the homes that you can see in the distance. That's a really pretty one, but it's definitely a little more challenging at times. So it was good to know beforehand, hey, I can look at this website, and that's a good place to go.
And that's a really good one too, because when you look at it, you don't think it's challenging. You have no idea that what you're getting into, just a little bit of inclines that you're going to get along the way, how taxing it could be.
Yeah.
And that also is another piece of advice. You don't necessarily have to use All Trails, but please, if you were going to join a new gym, you'd probably research it, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to hike a mountain or any trail, please research it.
Yeah.
Know where you're going, know what you're getting into, know how long it is, the whole thing, know the parking situation. Just do your research is a big thing. So
Bring water.
she mentioned south. That's always a good one.
Yeah.
On the north side of town,
That too.
we have some pretty nice trails in North Mountain, which
Yes.
I like to call the recovery mountain because you'll bump into a lot of us regulars that when we're
injured.
injured, we go there because it's paved.
And that's one I have yet to try.
Yeah.
So, okay, give me some of those
good views
rides.
there. And then
Yeah.
you also have Shaw Butte, which is over to the side, which is a little bit shorter but not paved.
Okay.
There's also a lot of trails like around the bottom. If you don't want to do any vertical
Okay.
gain, you can do that sort of thing. There's Lookout. So the north side and the northwest side have a lot of like nice little kind of just sort of easy to get in and get out and
Yeah.
get your like hike in and everything. So.
Okay. And we have viewers from all over the state. So I know you guys mentioned, you've gone to other trails, Flagstaff, Eastern Arizona, along the rim. If you were to pick out maybe just a couple, maybe if someone lives here in the valley and they want to head out, or if people live elsewhere, what would you say maybe your best for like an easy hike, a medium hike, but something that's really pretty?
So it's kind of hard because in all different areas, but Flagstaff has, the Eldon Ruins is a really good small, it's not even like a super hard trail,
Okay.
but it's an awesome place to just go and see things that were before. My brain just, of course, Sunset Crater.
Oh, Crater,
That's
yes.
it. So
Uh-huh.
right is just past Flagstaff, but
Yes.
there are tons of trails in there.
Okay.
It's a national monument, and it also leads to what I never cannot pronounce this. Wapaki
Okay.
National Monument.
Yes.
The road connects, and honestly, the trails inside there are incredible. You're gonna
Okay.
get views of Flagstaff. You'll see the Kachina Peaks.
Oh, pretty.
Humphreys Peak. That's the name.
Yes,
of it.
yeah.
You'll see Kendrick from around there, O'Leary. You get all the views of all of the volcanoes that were here, that created the landscape that we're all in, and they're all moderate.
Okay.
There's nothing that's super hard in any of those.
Because sometimes we want that. I have the conversation with my friends where we're like, okay, do we want to sweat? Do we want to wear the whole workout gear? Or do we want to be able to kind of walk, talk, be comfortable? So I want to talk to you guys directly. First, we'll start with Piestewa and with Camelback. Those are very popular trails out here. And we know that typically when Phoenix Fire, Scottsdale Fire goes out to some calls, they will often get called to these because they are just so popular. People love it and they love the views. If you were to give any recommendations to people, when I went for my first time in college, I didn't know you had to physically use that railing to help you get up. So maybe people just don't know certain things. What would you guys recommend?
I would recommend if it's your first time hiking ever, please don't go to either one of those mountains. And I love Camelback and I love Piestewa. But the thing that we need to remember is that just because you see other people do it doesn't necessarily mean that it's like the only thing that you have to do. The views are freaking amazing from pretty much anything. I mean, my whole saying is get on top of something. It's our like community joke because just any little like hunk of earth around here, there's a couple little lower trails around Pi that's really super great.
Okay.
Some lower peaks around there. So there's one that's just right across from the entry to the main summit trail. It's just really short. Go up with the dogs because you cannot have dogs on Piestewa and Camelback. Let me make that clear.
Not on the summit trails.
Yes, not on the summit trails of either one of those mountains. And there's a very good there are many very good reasons. And the main one is that we don't want to see your dog die. That's the biggest one. So for my main advice for those two would be sure that's what you want to do. And when I go and I volunteer, because I'm a park steward, at the bottom, try to give advice to people. That's normally the best place to catch people before they get on trail and get their egos involved, is I normally say, look, you kind of assess and it's like you're not wearing the right shoes. It looks like you obviously might be a little hungover. You don't have the right water, all that stuff. Like, go part way up.
Sure.
Where you stop is your top. You don't have to go to summit.
That's our favorite.
And the big thing is that, you do that, you get the view, you get your pictures, you go to brunch and get the mimosas, and you don't
call
have
it
a
a
rescue
day.
or a bad story.
Yeah.
So really try to think about taking the ego out of your hiking and really listen to who you are and not try to compete with other people, because hiking is an individual thing.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be, not everything has to be a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, you just go out, get your blood pumping, get out there. You don't have to be like, trying to PR or beat somebody on a leaderboard. If you want to do that, that's fine. You can, but there's a wide swath of different types of people that enjoy hiking, and
Sure.
it doesn't have to be about that kind
Either
of
way,
push. Yeah.
Sure. And either way, I mean, it's so pretty around the valley. Like you
Yes.
said, even if you get up a little bit in height, you're going to see some really gorgeous views. I want to ask you guys, if there was one trail, let's say we're talking to avid hikers at this point, one trail that is just so breathtaking, the views, if there's, maybe water.
Around the whole state or in the
Whole
valley?
state, yeah.
That's
Maybe let's do valley and then let's think
That one's on
state.
you.
Well, I would say, like, it's weird. Like, Humphreys Peak is an iconic, but if you're up for something that you want to get up there in 10,000, Kendrick Peak is an amazing trail. You'll get views of Humphreys. It's very similar. It's slightly easier than doing Humphreys Peak because you're not going to, but you're still getting elevation. And it's funny because the Camelback Culture shirt, I was wearing that doing that trail, and I saw somebody else with the shirt.
Oh,
and I was
funny.
like, we need to take a picture for Jess. This is so cool. And now we're really good friends
Oh,
after
cool.
years.
And that's the point of community, everybody.
Yeah. Yes, it's all kind of coming together there, full circle.
So I definitely recommend Kendrick Peak if you're heading up north, because Humphreys can get super, super busy.
Yeah.
And then you'll get the same, and that's an avid hiker hike. I would not recommend that for a beginner just because you're going up to 10,000.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
High in elevation, and then I think we forget too. Sometimes when I go up to Flagstaff, I'm huffing and puffing, and I'm like,
You're
oh, it's
starting at 7,000 up there.
correct. We jump elevations very quickly here in our state. What do you think would be most challenging? And let's go here in the valley in case
Well,
people
most-
want to come to Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, we know
Camelback.
Camelback and Piesta are the most challenging, and I mean that they're tall and
Yeah.
they've got challenging trails. I would say, I mean, there's the people that love pie and there's the people that love Camelback. They're both wonderful. Camelback is taller than Piesta, everybody. That is not up for debate. I would also say that Camelback's a little bit more challenging because Piesta benefits from sort of a natural stair step sort of thing. And
Sure.
when they did that trail, they were able to build with concrete and they built those stairs and stuff in there. So
Sure.
there's a little bit, I call it kind of the Stairmaster. It's a little bit more regulated stepping, whereas on Camelback, you are most likely, unless you're top level like hiker and physical health, have to use your hands.
Yeah.
So if you're not available to do that, that might not be the hike you want to do. I mean,
Sure.
there are sections where you're literally pulling yourself up.
Yeah, and that's something I think a lot of people don't realize before they head up that mountain.
No, I mean, we see them, and that's what I mean about research, is kind of get an idea. You can even plug in the name of the place and go to the location. Just look at the pictures that people have posted.
Right. Even
Because they will
Instagram, you can
post-
search now and see
Right,
some
they
photos.
will post along the trail. So normally when you go to a page or something, it's going to show you maybe the trailhead and like the summit photo, right? It doesn't give you a sense necessarily
Of what you're gonna go
of
through on
what
that
Sure.
you're actually dealing with in there.
Right.
And while those of us that do it all the time, I mean, when we post things and I'll post, I like to repost people to talk about their stories. Obviously, some of the stories are about it being challenging, and then someone will comment like, oh, that's not challenging at all. It's like, guys,
Just give
everybody's different.
everyone, yeah.
You know what?
Everybody's
Totally.
This
different.
person that trail was challenging for can probably do something else in their life that you couldn't even fathom doing. Everybody's got their abilities.
It's different for everyone.
I get that a lot on Camelback coming down.
Unfortunately, yes.
People will look at me and they go, "Did you make it to the top?" And then I say yes, and they'll look at their friend who's currently struggling and say, "You've got this." And then I also have to tell them that I do this trail once a week, if not more than that. So please take that into consideration.
Yes.
Just looking at somebody else accomplishing something. So if you're looking at people's posts on Instagram and you just happen to see, oh, this person's on top of Camelback, that means I can do it. That's not true.
Yes.
Make sure that you look into the actual hike. Look into what it is they did to get there. Because so many of us will be like, oh, yeah, they did it. I could do that.
Totally.
And I think that's what happens with Camelback
Yeah,
a lot.
a lot.
Okay.
Is it's the most posted mountain here.
Sure.
So everyone's like, I want to do that one. And if you want to do that one, I welcome people to come, but there's Bobby's Rock Loop, which is at the bottom.
Okay.
You can get to the saddle and look out and still see it. It doesn't have to be about the top.
Okay.
And Bobby's Rock Loop is actually like an unknown little treasure in there.
I
There's some
haven't heard.
really
I haven't heard of this one
So
yet.
you
There's a
just
little
head
cave
off,
in there.
Okay.
It's at the bottom before you hit the top of the switchbacks. You just head
Okay.
off. So when you start, you go down at Camelback, and then you come up and you'll look and you'll see stairs.
Okay.
Head up those stairs. Go to the edge of that's because that's a landing pad right there. So you go to the edge and looking towards the wall of rock there, and you'll see the stairs continue. So just follow the
Oh,
path
interesting.
around. There's little markers, and what it does is it takes you so that, because there's that big wall when you come into Echo Canyon, it takes you over and down, so you're hiking kind of up against that wall.
Okay.
And it's a different experience because you're not up on top of something, but it's really gorgeous. And at this time of year, everything is freaking out, blooming.
Oh my gosh, beautiful.
The mountain looks like Ireland right now.
Yes.
So staying down at the bottom, I mean, that's often what the advice that I'll give is, like, if someone shows up at the mountain and they've never been here before, they're not acclimated to Arizona, they're not hydrated, like they're not prepared, but they want an experience. It's like either go to the top of the switchbacks, you can see Scottsdale, you can see Phoenix, it's great views.
Beautiful, yeah.
Or you can stay around that bottom area, and again, you know, all the way along the trail, there's beautiful spots. The summit's not the be all end all of the mountain. So.
Great point. And you said, you know, that word acclimated, because I think if you're new here, you don't understand how quickly that sun can really impact you. We talked a little bit in our last podcast just about mountain rescues, kind of what goes all into that. So now the city has this program in place from 9 to 5 where they close down trails on excessive heat days. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're new here to the valley, 9 to 5, they'll close these trails down on Piestewa and on Camelback. And that's just for the safety of the hikers, safety of the firefighters who are also going up there and saving people. So let's say that, you know, right now is still a really nice time of the year, really nice to get out there. It definitely gets a little bit hot once you're out there and in the sun, but this is still a good time to maybe go out for a little bit of a hike. We talked the valley, we talked Flag, you mentioned the Rim, Eastern Arizona, that those are good
Grand
places
Canyon,
as well.
Obviously, we have the Grand. I don't think we.
Hello.
I can't even
That
tell
is
how
a
many
hard
people have
hike.
lived here.
I've
that
never been
haven't
there.
I've done rim to rim, which less than 1% of the population will ever do that hike. And the amount of people that live here that have never even been to the Grand Canyon amaze me. But they also need to understand when you start hiking down in the Grand Canyon, the hardest part is the hike back up. My last hike down in the canyon, this guy's like, this is so easy. And I said, can you do me a favor? Turn around and just hike up one switchback so you have an idea of what going back was like.
Sure.
He turned around and he's like, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And it was just that quick moment of please don't go too far. Because
Sure.
we have like this one point that's only a mile, but it's a long mile to get back out of a canyon.
And what about the Grand Canyon is just so beautiful. Havasupai Falls.
Oh, that
this
one's
is one that has just blown up on social media because it is so beautiful. The water is crystal clear. If you're not familiar, it's a hike that you really what is it?
It's
9
miles just to the village.
Okay.
And it'll be 10 miles till you start to encounter like the main falls. There's a couple of falls on the way down there.
Okay.
It is a permit. So I just want to start out with that right away because in advance you have to get these permits.
People plan years in advance to try to get these permits.
I just got my 2020 trip finally redone. We went in April.
Okay.
It was awesome. So I've gone 4 times,
and
luckily.
Okay, that's amazing. They use mules as well down there in that area.
That's
you can
to
pay
help
for that.
carry stuff down if you cannot pack your stuff in, which I highly recommend. If you don't feel you're capable, rent something, do something, and make sure you're taking your stuff out. My biggest thing down there is everybody leaves their stuff behind. They don't want to carry it out, and they leave the reservation and tribe with a table. And everybody's thought, and I can commend them for this, is they think they're sharing. What they're not realizing is water just takes that stuff. That turns into pollution.
Sure.
You're really littering by not taking it out. If you feel like you want to share, bring it to the top and ask somebody at the top on their way down if they need something. Yes, we have to carry it. That's the part of the whole trip, is to carry your stuff. You go through so much. It's an intense experience because you really are carrying
everything you need.
And then getting out is the overwhelming part. Going down is easy. Same thing, any canyon hike you do, going down
those
is
hikes
always
where you
easy.
start going down and come out, it's a different kind of psychology that one takes.
Yes,
A lot of people don't realize Fossil Creek too, the Bob Bear Trailhead, that one's an 8-mile hike. You have 4 miles down. You go down 4 miles, you spend a day at the falls, you feel amazing, then you have to hike out. You're tired after swimming all day.
Yeah.
So that is definitely, I think, something a lot of people have to think about when you're doing stuff is the trip out, making sure you save your energy to get back to where you need to be.
And that one requires, excuse me, a lot of research too.
Yes.
I want to point that one out. Okay, what about Sedona, the Red Rocks?
Oh, Sedona's incredible. The hard thing with Sedona is it wasn't built for the amount of people that we have right now, so traffic. And they have a great shuttle system that they now put into place for, I want to say, 4 or 5 of their major iconic trails. So if you are going to hike in Sedona, just plan for that. Plan for at least an extra hour of traffic to get to any trailhead. And then you've got to make sure you're parking for shuttles, because it's just gotten really intense.
And in Sedona, a lot of people really like to go to the West Fork Trail and everything like that. But so when you're coming up to Sedona, you turn to go more like east as opposed to west. But don't forget, there are great trails out on the west side. You don't even necessarily have to do like full trails. So there's Crescent Moon Park is like my favorite thing.
I haven't heard of that one.
Because the views are unbelievable from right there. So it's like swimming holes all the way down, but you can still hike. But the cool thing is you come in. Is that Cathedral Rock right there behind it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you come in and you can hike towards Cathedral Rock, going through all these little swimming areas. And there's just kind of spaces to sort of, set up your stuff and hang out, or you can go all the way down to the wall. And
I love
there's
that.
like deep and shallow swimming areas.
Okay.
Just remember, you're going to want your water shoes for that one, because you will slip and fall very easily.
And there's Slide Rock, which is its own kind. That was my first time doing this a couple years ago, where you're literally sliding down the rocks in the water.
Yep.
That one was crazy.
In the coldest water imaginable.
Yes.
It snow melts in, creeks from northern Arizona coming down.
It's a cool concept.
That's an awesome place to really go. You just take the, kids love playing. There's cliff jumping.
Again,
there's
traffic,
slides.
so be early.
Yeah.
That one fills up, and then there's a line, and it's only a 1 lane each way on that road, so it
gets crowded up in Sedona.
Yeah, so you kind of want to hydrate your body. You also want to hydrate your patience.
Yes.
When you go to Sedona, like seriously hydrate the patients. Don't take your bad vibes to Sedona, everybody.
Because the people there will not like that. And those living there.
No, Sedona's too beautiful to go to be mad. You've got to just go to be chill.
It's just so beautiful. Okay, so let's talk about maybe some advice. You said you talk to people sometimes at the bottom of trails. What are you often hearing from people when you're telling them, hey, these might not be the right shoes, or, you might not seem...
I get a lot of eye rolls, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get a lot of eye rolls. The thing that terrifies me are influencers, and I'm calling you guys out right now. Please, when you post about these trails, you may be in amazing shape, okay? Not everybody is in your same shape or your same ability, or maybe they're from Wisconsin and have no idea how fast it can heat up here, and no idea how much the desert is actually like. I think everybody that lives here is kind of used to being low-key dehydrated.
Yeah.
That's what we mean by acclimated to Arizona. You're used to the fact that the desert is literally fighting to get the water out of your body all the time, even when it's 55 degrees. So people don't really realize what they're getting into. So again, my biggest advice is research. And then, of course, the city of Phoenix has their Take a Hike, Do It Right campaign. A lot of these things should be obvious, but they're not. So, like, the hardest thing is a lot of rescues happen in the summer, I know, but they also happen in the winter. And that's not as discussed. There's actually, I believe, more in the winter than there are in the summer, because there are more people, and there are more people that believe that because it is not 85 plus degrees, that they don't need to travel with water. And this is so unbelievably untrue. The other bit of advice that people don't really get is they think that they can hydrate so you're in Arizona, you're going to go on a hike. You cannot hydrate for that hike when you get to the trailhead.
You need to do so beforehand.
It's all, so when you see the regulars headed up and they may not have water, even though I tell them to take it for other people, I will admit on Camelback, I don't drink water when I'm up there, because I have pre-hydrated, and I will hydrate after. I will drink if it's like during the middle of the summer, but you'll see a lot of the regulars who may be not carrying water. The reason is that we plan our hikes. Like people that hike every day, they are hydrating to an extreme degree to be able to pull that off.
Sure.
So do not attempt to come to the trailhead and throw down a gallon of water and your Big Mac, because that's going to be on the trail about 2 switchbacks up.
You'll feel it,
Yeah, because you use a lot of core on Camelback and Piestewa, so try to remember that. If you've packed your stomach, you're going to have a really uncomfortable time.
Okay. And, one hike that I really love is Hole in the Wall at Topago. Hole in the Rock, thank you. If you've never been before, it's kind of like you walk up a little bit of a small hike to the top of this mountain, and there's just a massive hole there in the mountain, and you can see right through it. You can walk through it, sit there. This is a really cool one, and I think it's maybe more moderate for people. It's not...
Yeah, it's really like that. I would say that, you could pretty much take most ability levels there. Unfortunately, the trail is a little rough right now, so City of Phoenix Parks Department, you guys go clean that up a little bit. But so I wouldn't take like a wheelchair or anything like that, but I've seen people with somewhat of physical difficulty getting up there as long as they have help. It is very, very short.
Okay.
There's not quite as much.
Sunset.
It is.
Yes.
It's unbelievable for sunset because it faces towards the west. So you'll just see, the coolest thing is to go to other sides of Papago and stand on other things and look at everybody covering.
Tons
of people are
Sometimes you'll see it's just a whole crowd.
It's just human. You don't even see rock anymore. So so I would like to push people to go to Papago. We are currently encouraging the City of Phoenix, and the City of Phoenix is moving more towards bringing Papago up to the level that it should be, because it used to be a natural monument.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it hasn't been upkept quite as much as it should have been for the amount of people that go there. I believe it is maybe the most visited of the places of our mountain parks in Phoenix.
Okay.
And we share that with the city of Tempe on the other side. So on their side, it's a preserve. On our side, it's a park. So it's kind of a continuous thing. Yeah.
Well, that one's a great call too.
It really is good. Yeah.
Anything else? Are there any trails or hikes that you guys think we may have missed out on?
If you haven't been to Bisbee, like that area down there,
Yes.
all the
Okay.
stairs
Let's give some
around
love over
Bisbee,
there.
yeah.
That part of the state, I think it's really ignored for
I
some
think we
reason.
do
Down
ignore
by
the south of the
Wilcox
state,
too.
don't we?
Yes.
There's like
And
an
Wilcox
awesome
is beautiful.
apple orchard down there that we go to in
The
the
drive
fall. We
down is
love.
unbelievable.
Okay,
It's
so we're gonna go to
pretty.
Bisbee for this
Yeah,
hike.
you
And what's
wanna
this
make
one
sure-
called?
There's just stairs.
Well, you do
Like,
the stairs in
literally just walk
Bisbee.
around
Okay.
It's like
the
it
town.
turns into a hike. Just walking in Bisbee is kind of a
Everywhere
Hike
you
on
go,
its own.
there's like a little set of stairs in between that take you to
so
another
they have,
level.
what is
So
it,
it's
3,000 stairs or something? They
Yeah.
have like a whole course, I think, that you can go
Amazing.
and do.
Okay,
it's really
great.
cool. I think
So-
people totally don't even realize that exists. And you can hit Tombstone on the way. You've got Colossal Cave, which is a really cool underground experience. It's a dry cave, and then we do have a set of caverns. My brain, it's like Kartchner Caverns. That's
Okay.
right. So all of those are on the way to Bisbee, and it's a really cool experience.
Yeah.
You see the stalagmites, stalactites, everything in there. Colossal Cave has coatimundis that are coming in and out as you're walking
wow.
in, so that's really cool. And the bats. So.
That's a good point. You know, are there any trails where you feel like you've run into more wildlife, maybe more so than any other
In the
trails?
superstitions, I think, is where I get most.
Yeah.
of
Okay.
the
Well, and even
wildlife.
South Mountain, we were
Coyotes.
Remember when we were there taking pictures, and this just troop of coyotes came across.
Wow.
Because it was sunset, so I guess they were traveling to wherever they needed to go for dinner.
So
but
yeah, South Mountain, you'll have coyotes.
just remember,
javelinas.
we do live in a rugged and rough state. So you know, there's been a few times that I've seen some local cute girls posting about Camelback and tagging the page, and I'm like, hey, you know, always keep an earbud out or have the passive so you can hear, because there are snakes. And
Yes.
critters.
Yeah.
And they laugh and they're like, oh, don't be silly. And I'm like, it's not Disney World, everybody. It is natural landscape. This is where they live.
Yeah.
And
I
I will
guess
say
Camelback
that
really needs to get
Yeah,
announced
so-
that they are on there. We see them.
Yeah.
early in the
Especially
morning.
this time of the year is when we start to
the
see
bees
more.
can get somewhat aggressive. Please do not ever, if you see an open air beehive, don't throw anything at it. Please, you're just going to get someone else attacked. So the Africanized bees, what they do is they mark you when you've annoyed them, and they follow you.
Oh.
And
The
they
more
can
you
get
know.
Yes, they get you. So you don't want to piss them off.
Yes.
They come
So-
up to you and literally bump you.
Yeah,
and
so
that's
if
letting
you're
you know
getting
you're
bumped
too
by
close.
a bee, you need to walk away. That's their warning method. So if they're circling you and bumping you, that's your opportunity to leave
back
where
away.
they are, because they
Okay.
don't want you there
You're
anymore.
getting too close to a
But,
hive.
I mean, we have a lot of critters, and I will say that with the more people moving here, there are more houses being built in these spaces that were once wide open. And for the first time, and I've been doing Camelback for a while, I don't know about you, I hear coyotes every time I'm up there now.
Okay.
And I never did before. So they're gotten pushed out of somewhere.
So
and they're
something to
pushed-
be aware of.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know that coyotes are necessarily dangerous, but I mean, maybe if you have a small child or something like that, but just be aware. It's not necessarily that they're a danger to us. We are also a danger to them. So be aware to not, you know, go off trail, get involved in things you shouldn't be involved in. Please, and here's another thing. I don't understand this. People have been destroying the trees on Camelback by just ripping them. I see people just shredding. Don't do that.
Yeah. Leave it how it is, and let's just
What I
enjoy
like
the
to say,
hike.
if you wouldn't do it at your mother's house, don't do it on that mountain, man. Okay? Because, you know, don't leave your trash. And trash is anything you bring. anything that came in with you that wasn't there before you got there, that is trash. Banana peel,
peels.
orange peels will give you an earful of banana
Just
peels.
so you know, I have a banana peel that I brought home from Camelback Mountain 3 years ago.
She wanted to prove how long it lasts.
Oh my
And
God.
it is
It's
now
still
in
alive.
4 pieces, but it still looks almost
Like a banana.
exactly
You
like
did your
a
own
banana peel
test.
from the next day.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I'm
There is
trying to
no
see how
natural
long-
trash. So
Yes.
if you wouldn't throw a banana peel down in your mom's yard, don't throw it down on Camelback. People seem to get outside and they forget etiquette and manners, and I don't understand why, because you're still in a city. So if you can have etiquette at the gym, you can have etiquette when you hike.
Sure. Let's keep our hiking trails just how pretty they're supposed to be. Okay, cool. So you guys, amazing. I love all this insight from you. Anyone who may, want some feedback or has questions for you, should they get involved in the Camelback Culture page?
Oh, you can absolutely DM Camelback Culture or email at camelbackculture@gmail. So it's just
Phoenix
Camelback
Park
Culture.
Stewards, too.
So you can contact the Phoenix Parks page. So Phoenix Parks has got a new program where they are doing a monthly ranger-led hike, which is very cool.
Very cool.
Because all the different local groups are kind of, now that there's so many people here, there's kind of a push to make sure that we as a community help educate people to not only protect them but also protect our natural resources, because what happens when people go and trash these trails, what was it, one of them, they get shut down. So some of the tribes have been shutting some trails down because they get so trashed that you just can't come anymore.
Grand
so the thing
Falls,
is
I
that
don't
you
know
just
if
can't
anybody's
have
aware.
that. Yeah, you can't have that selfish behavior.
Okay.
Because there's so many people here now that you think that you can leave one wrapper, but if 10,000 people do that,
yeah, then
Yeah,
it
like
will-
Grand Falls is a great example
Yeah.
of that. That was shut
Right.
down almost 2 years ago now because of, it was 1 year now, just excessive trash. Every time I ever went, I left with like full trash bags
like
full of
bags
trash
and bags.
from there.
Yeah.
All right, so come on, people. Let's
Yes,
keep these trails
please.
clean. Thank you guys so much for your expertise. We
Thank you.
covered new hikers, avid hikers, so I'm excited for everyone to learn a little bit more from you guys. So thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
This is Beyond the Green Screen, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.